Right, let's talk about the booming industry of management consulting now. Delighted to be joined in the studio by Dr. Noah Raford, who's Managing Partner of Emerging Markets Intelligence and Research, EMIR, and former Chief Futurist for the Dubai government. Noah, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Right, first Monday morning in September, the consulting bandwagon is rolling once again in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, and elsewhere. What was it you said, Brandy Scott? Polishing the brown shoes?
Polishing the brown shoes, dusting off the blue suit.
It's a world you know well.
Getting the man bag out the closet.
The lounges are full these days at the airport.
and they're still full. I'm reading research from Source Global Research that predicts 10% growth of the GCC consulting market this year to $6 billion. Still rolling, yeah?
And it doesn't look like it's going to stop. I mean, the demand for consultancy in the region is obvious because you need people who are coming in, experts, talented teams you can deploy rapidly to solve the kind of uncertain, fast growth problems which the region has. So it's a natural demand.
We've asked you to come in because you wrote an interesting piece a couple of weeks ago for AGBI about consulting. And the thrust of the article was that consultants can get a lot of bad press. It's easy to criticize them, but actually they do a lot of good work. You've spent your career partly as a consultant, now with EMIR, previously with the likes of Monitor, but also working for governments, like the Dubai government, commissioning consultants, hiring the likes of McKinsey and BCG and the Big Four. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly of consulting?
Well, the article, the really thrust of that was trying to understand the differences between the scales of consultancy and the kinds of consultants relative to the problem that you, as a CEO or an organization, might have. It's quite easy to go for a big trusted brand name, a big organization. The old expression that nobody ever got fired for buying IBM is kind of true in this part of the world. No one ever got in trouble for commissioning a study from a Big Four consultancy because it's trusted, it's known. And I think that's very valuable, particularly for things that you know the answers for. But I think there's often a mismatch between the kinds of easy effort that one can hire a big consultancy for, just hire McKinsey, hire BCG, we know they're going to get good stuff, and the more complex, subtle natures of some of the problems which you deal with at a board level. It's not all just a cookie-cutter standard operating procedure approach. You don't have templates for the kind of problems that you as a minister or a chairperson most likely deal with on a day-to-day basis. So the challenge that I saw when I was in government was often this mismatch between commissioning a big firm or a standard firm that did a standard template with baby MBAs kind of coming in, trying to repeat last quarter's examples or trends for a problem that wasn't standard and needed original thinking, needed a more sort of wizardly or artisanal touch. And that challenge often results in a lot of frustration and waste of money.
Okay, so you say a lot of the criticism of the McKinseys in this world is unjustified, but you know, I'm reading one book, I'm not reading all of it, but The Big Con by Mariana Mazzucato talks about, you know, the damage that the McKinseys of this world do to the global economy and so on. You say they sometimes do a lot of good work, but this cookie-cutter approach sometimes, because they are large machines, aren't they, these consulting firms, whether it's the Big Four or Accenture or whoever it may be.
That's it, yes. And I think that, let's be fair, consultancies do a tremendous amount of damage. I mean, the record is quite clear in terms of the amount of, particularly in the UK around COVID and the misallocation of funds, and the New York City recently paid $4 million to McKinsey for the redesign of a rubbish bin. Now, obviously, it wasn't just the rubbish bin, it was the whole system therein. But my point in the article is it's not their fault, actually. They are finely tuned machines to serve what the market is demanding of them, which are often easy solutions to what is otherwise very complicated problems.
And sometimes you say people within organizations hire a big name consultancy because they want an endorsement. If you've got a project that you want to get off the ground, if you hire a Deloitte or whoever it is and they do a consulting project and say, yeah, this is a good idea, that's something that you can take to your board of directors to get sign off. So a lot of it is motivated by people wanting endorsement for something they already believe rather than a process of discovery.
That's it. I think one of the, not to say dirty secrets, because it's not really dirty nor a secret, but one of the uncomfortable truths of the consulting industry is usually you're hired either for responsibility arbitrage, to take responsibility for a decision that you as a client don't want to take, or as a manpower solution, temporary high-quality staffing solution, because your procurement process or hiring process is too slow. And so it's not the big consultancy's faults for providing solutions which achieve those goals. However, there's a difference between what the market demands and what is often needed when you're talking about building a country or dealing with complicated corporate strategy crises. So that's the key differentiation. It's sort of like never bring a knife to a gunfight kind of a thing. If you're in a situation which truly requires political sensitivity and deep domain expertise, you want somebody on your side that has been through the problem that you're dealing with, or that you trust intimately and is going to be there with you throughout the whole process, as opposed to, not to make light of it, but a shiny partner flying in, coming on the morning flight, selling a great deck, leaving it to the baby MBAs, walking away, recycling some content from another client, putting it in a nice standard package, and then giving you something which you sounds good on the surface, but doesn't actually get to the root of the complicated, uncertain issue.
Okay, well, that is what you're doing now with EMIR, isn't it? So EMIR began 7 or 8 years ago with a good friend of ours, Trevor McFarlane, former host of the Business Breakfast, as essentially a networking organization. Now it has a consulting division which you run as managing partner. And so you are going up against, and other boutique firms as well, against the big names pitching for consultancy gigs. Can't be easy when you're behind the queue in the waiting room, behind someone who's got McKinsey on his or her business card.
Well, it's easier than it sounds. The reason being, we're quite lucky. It's a scale problem. Now, if you're an organization like a McKinsey or a BCG, you have dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of employees around the globe. So your number one job is to keep those employees fed, keep your partners happy, keep the revenue coming in. So in other words, you are a sales machine. Your job is to win the next project. And so unfortunately, quality usually suffers in those circumstances. And it's not hard if you are offering a quality product or a quality relationship to be involved in that process, because we're ultimately not competing with McKinsey's or BCG's. They do a job that they're hired to do. We don't respond to RFPs. We don't seek work. Work comes to us, luckily, because of the quality of the relationships that Trevor and myself and many of the other colleagues in the cabinet network, as we call it, have cultivated over the years. So it's really almost like, this sounds a little bit stereotypical, but you might recall in, I think it was Pulp Fiction, there was that character Winston Wolfe. There was that horrible scene in the back of the car where he accidentally blew off the head of the passenger, and oh my God, what do we do in this situation? Well, you call Winston Wolfe. Who's Winston Wolfe? He's that trusted guy who's going to get it done in those complicated, messy, politically uncertain, high risk but high reward situations where you only have a little bit of time to deal with it. That's most of the work that we do.
But you don't have, we haven't got much time left, you don't have Salesforce and a pipeline of leads and lead generation and lead conversion metrics.
We're very, very fortunate, and we have far more demand to work with our partners than we have time to deliver. So we're very selective there. In fact, we sort of joke we're kind of an invitation-only consultancy or advisory firm.
Do you have brown shoes and a blue suit?
Not these. I'm wearing brown shoes right now, but I don't wear suits anymore.
Noah, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed for joining us today. Dr. Noah Raford is Managing Partner of Emerging Markets Intelligence and Research, former Chief Futurist for the Dubai government. Busy time for you, so I'll let you get back to work. Thanks very much indeed for being with us.